Welcome to The Complete Athlete, a series for athletes who first understand the importance that mental toughness plays in their sport. Second, who want to have more control over their emotions, both on and off the field. Third, for athletes who want to decrease their chance of injury. And finally, this series is for athletes who want to increase their mobility, coordination, endurance, and overall strength. Every podcast in this series covers the key components a successful athlete needs mentally and will be followed by either a short clip targeting the most common problem areas for athletes or a full yoga class that helps connect mind and body, helping create the complete athlete. For more information, go to www.ishawarriors.com/complete athlete info.
This is Monday Mindset with Isha Warriors, episode 27, The Ego Paradox and the Key to Emotional Resiliency. Aloha! My name is Ali Lothane. I've been empowering and inspiring others through yoga for over 15 years, specializing in yoga for teens. If you are ready to live life to the fullest and love it along the way, let's enjoy the journey together. Hi, you guys. I'm going to jump right in today. We need to believe in ourselves. So crucial. Every single one of us needs to believe in ourselves to thrive in life. Whether we are parents trying our best to raise kids, we are applying for a promotion at work, or we're a teenager trying to just figure out where we should sit at lunch, or stepping out onto a court to play a game in front of hundreds of people. We need to believe in ourselves. Tiger Woods once said, "Every time I play, in my own mind, I'm the favorite." Michael Jordan once said he went into every game believing he was the best player on the court until someone proved otherwise. Possessing true confidence is an essential trait for all of us, whether we are struggling to get out of bed in the morning or whether we want to take our life pursuits to the next level. We need to believe in ourselves. Here's the problem. Mistaking ego for confidence happens all the time. People think that what they're being is confident when what they're being is cocky. Our youngest has been sick with a fever this past week. At times, it's really obvious her body is out of balance. Her whole body is burning up. And at other times, I've had to get out the thermometer and check her temperature to see if she is still battling the infection so that I know what remedies I need to give her. When it comes to ego, sometimes it's very obvious when you or someone you're with is out of balance. You lose your temper at your kids. You get angry out on the field, the court, the rink. You lose your cool. At other times, though, the ego fever is more subtle, and you have to take your temperature to know where you're at battling that infectious disease of me. Today, I'm going to lay out the symptoms of what an ego fever looks like. I'm going to talk about how to remedy that fever, and then I'm going to juxtapose that ego fever with what an ego in check looks like. In other words, what does it look like to possess true confidence and be emotionally resilient? That's the sweet spot right there. That is what's going to bring you lasting joy and help you have a long athletic career. Former NBA player and Miami Heat coach Pat Riley wrote a book once called The Winner Within. And in that book, he calls the ego the disease of me. I see signs of this infection everywhere. Everywhere. Do you? What are these symptoms of this infectious disease? As you listen in, be honest with yourself and ask, does this sound like me? Because maybe, just maybe, you've been noticing other people and thinking, oh, that person is confident. That's how you act when you're confident. When really, they are just being egotistical and suffering from the same fever as so many others. So as I list out about a dozen symptoms of ego fever, I want you to be really honest. Maybe even have a pen or paper, jot down, is this me? And what things that maybe come to your mind as you're listening. The quicker I can detect a fever in my daughter, the quicker I can help soothe her pain. The quicker you see how ego has infected your life, the quicker you can heal, overcome, and move on and up to a higher level of self, which in turn allows you to parent at a higher level and play your sport at a higher level. It's never too late to begin anew. It's never too late to admit you've been wrong and apologize. Don't dwell, don't deny, improve. So let's take your temperature. Number 1, ego fever is an impulse to beat your chest and say, I have nothing to learn from you. Whether it's a teacher or a coach or a parent, I am the only one who can do it right. I know better than my coach, better than my parents. I am above showing respect, but people better respect me and my talent. 2, ego wants to do the glamorous parts about winning and has no interest in the hard, grinding parts. In other words, ego wants the glory without the hard work. Number 3, someone with ego fever takes all the credit when their team is winning. And number 4, none of the credit when their team is losing. Number 5, someone with the me disease shuts down when they are losing, blames other players, the coach, the refs, the umpire, the crowd, the weather, you name it. Number 6, are you stubborn and unwilling to learn? 7, are you scared to be vulnerable, scared to fail, scared to take risks? Maybe you've never considered that part of ego fever before. But number 8, do you always have to be in control? Number 9, do you tend to be negative and critical of yourself and others? Do you let your anger explode with loud, ugly words and physical force? Ego says you have to be perfect and you can never show weakness or be wrong. And lastly, number 12, is your worth tied into how many points you put on the board or what your stats are? If any of these things sound like you have ego fever. Maybe you only identified 1 or 2 things, and it's a low-grade fever. But even a low-grade fever will affect your gameplay. It will affect how you connect with people you love, and it will be a detriment to your development as a person. Ego fever keeps you immature emotionally, and it keeps you stuck in your progression as a human. It's time to let go of ego and step into your greatness. Here are 3 remedies for ego fever. 1, acknowledge the fever exists. 2, humble yourself. And 3, keep your ego in check. Okay, so number 1, acknowledging that the fever exists. Just the fact that you are listening to this podcast is huge. The fact that you are open to trying to understand the ego paradox and the difference between ego and true confidence. There are thousands of examples everywhere of adults who aren't even willing to do what you're doing. Ego makes for dramatic TV, but in real life, it will destroy what you love. So, the fact that you're here right now with me, you're amazing. It is hard to acknowledge you have ego fever when everyone around you is telling you how talented you are. It's hard when people bend the rules for you, give you gifts, and flatter you. It's hard to see that it is your ego they are building up and not your confidence. It is a hard thing to look at ourselves in the mirror and be honest. Then it is even harder to take the time to understand why we act the way we do and treat other people the way we do. And finally, it's even harder to not beat ourselves up about our shortcomings, to feel shame for falling short time and time again. But guess what? We are created to do hard things. And I believe you have the power to rise above what you have known and become more. The second thing that you can do to heal your ego fever is to be humble and teachable. Zig Ziglar once said, "If you are not willing to learn, no one can help you. If you are determined to learn, no one can stop you." Humility is not the same as being a spineless, insecure people pleaser. That is not humility. Humility isn't denying your incredible strengths. It's more about being honest about your weaknesses. It's maybe understanding that to step into your greatness, you may need to kneel. To step into your greatness, you may need to listen more, observe more, be open to new thoughts more, and do things with intention more. That is being humble and teachable. The third remedy for ego fever is to take your temperature regularly to make sure your ego is in check. Former NBA star Chris Bosh once said, "You must be ruthless about keeping your ego in check. You must attack the enemy within, because ego is indeed the enemy of all the things you want to accomplish in the game and in life." I see ego ruin precious relationships all the time, on the court, in people's marriages, in friendships. In Chris Bosh's book, Letters to a Young Athlete, he goes on to say, "Ego poisons success. Confidence is necessary for success. Figuring out the difference is the most important realization a young athlete can ever make. And nothing else you do in your time in sports will serve you better as a human being than learning that lesson." I have enjoyed reading the book, Letters to a Young Athlete, and I feel like Chris is very open in his book about the times in his career that he didn't understand how important it was to keep his ego in check. He says, "It seems like almost every week there is a piece on ESPN about some generational talent and what could have been. It's rarely an injury that took them out of the game. It's always something else. Drugs, the law, thinking they are God's gift to the game. It's so tempting to see yourself as the franchise player, the indispensable one, but that is rarely true. It's way more common for number one draft picks to fail to live up to expectations than it is for them to exceed them. Why is that? Ego is a big part of it, and nothing fuels ego quite like everyone telling you you're great. And look, I'm not being harsh on these guys to set myself up as some kind of superior being who's never had an egotistical thought a day in his life. I'm harsh on them because I recognize in their stories the same kind of ego that almost derailed my own career more than once. Hearing stories about talent going to waste because of ego is so frustrating to me because I hear those stories and I think that could have easily been me. And that is the case for any of us. It is so easy to give in to ego. The quicker you can see how you are falling short, the quicker you can recognize the fever is setting in, the quicker you can heal, overcome, move on, and up to being your highest level of self. Stepping into your greatness translates into more fulfilling relationships with people and will allow you to be an emotionally resilient athlete, a quality that will carry you through high school, college, and professional career, the rest of your life. And the good news, my friends, it's never too late to take these 3 steps to heal the infection and quench the fever. It's never too late to apologize to yourself and to others and begin again. Okay, so you know from episode 25, Mental Toughness, that your brain works most efficiently when you concentrate on where you want the ball to go. You've acknowledged you have a fever. We've talked about ways to cool the fever. Now let's talk about what true confidence and emotional resilience looks like so you can concentrate your energy on bringing in more of what you want in life. In talking to great coaches and listening to interviews with amazing coaches, what I hear again and again is that they look for players with confidence and emotional resilience. Are you surprised that it's not the top scorer every time? Confidence and emotional resilience is going to help you. Here are 8 qualities of emotional resilience that you can incorporate into your life today. Number 1, people who have their ego in check are truly confident. Okay, so you're like, okay, well, what does that look like? In episode 22, called Brag All You Want, I talk about what true confidence is, and I've included it in the show notes, and I've included it in the Yoga for Athletes series. Okay, so how you develop more self-esteem and confidence in yourself, how you develop believing in yourself, you absolutely should brag all you want if brag stands for be confident, radiate light, always be humble, and give others permission to shine too. Track star Jessica Ennis Hill once said, "I always believed." And when you do that, life can get unbelievable. Believe in yourself and be prepared for unbelievable things to happen in your life. And to get more clarity on how you can develop those qualities of confidence, how you can help believe in yourself, go to that episode 22. Listen there. Okay. Number 2, successful people take responsibility for themselves and their game. They understand what is in their control and what they are responsible for. When people looked at former pitcher Greg Maddux with his thin frame and glasses resting on the bridge of his nose, they would immediately guess that he was the most dominant pitcher of his generation. He understood that the only thing he could control during a game was himself and his pitches, and he used his brilliant mind to help him do that very successfully. He is absolutely a lesson, an example of cultivating your mind and the power of developing and working hard in the classroom and how that can translate into your sport. Okay. But what he said was, what has benefited me the most is learning I can't control what happens outside of my pitching. To keep your ego in check and stay emotionally resilient, become clear with what you can control in your sport. Focus on that and do not absorb the drama and the ego fevers of other people. Number 3, when your ego is in check, you are in control of your emotions and you stay composed as you deal with adversity. Baseball Hall of Famer Carl Hubble once said, "I have no chance of controlling a ball game until I first control myself." It's not the event, but how we respond to it. That's so important. You can't always control what happens. You can only control how you respond to it. And the key word there is respond. You think about that word and it connotes intentional response, not just a knee-jerk gut reaction. When you let anger get the best of you, it brings out the worst in you. I know that sports can be super frustrating. Life can be super frustrating. It is easy to respond out of anger or frustration. Been there, done that, right? Hey, I want to tell you about Bobby Jones, who is an extremely talented golfer. He, at a very young age, beat everyone at the club, but he had a really bad temper. And an elderly man, everyone called Grandpa Bart, who worked part-time at the pro shop where he golfed at, befriended Bobby, and he warned him. He said, Bobby, you're good enough to win a tournament, but you'll never win until you can control that temper of yours. It took 7 years. Grandpa Bart once said, Bobby was 14 years old when he mastered the sport, but he was 21 before he mastered himself. It is not an easy process, but when you let anger get the best of you, it brings out the worst in you. And I want to give a shout out to my female listeners here. When it comes to controlling our emotions, us girls get an extra challenge in controlling them because every single month our hormones rise and fall, and it can feel disempowering, like there's nothing we can do about it. Hormones play a huge part in our emotions. I want you to know that I'll be doing a whole podcast in a couple months about things that we can do to feel empowered no matter what time of the month it is, okay? Because I know how important it is to keep our ego in check, to control our emotions, and stay composed as we deal with adversity. All right, so number 4, truly confident people who are emotionally resilient, they fail faster. They fail faster. You heard me that right, okay? Olympic 400-meter track and field sprinter Natasha Hastings once said, "You'll never know what you're capable of until you take that first step and just go for it." Olympic alpine skier Lindsey Vonn said, "If you go around being afraid, you're never going to enjoy life. You only have one chance, so you got to have fun." I was watching a TED Talk, and the speaker on it, his name was Astro Teller. He works at X, which is a think tank for Google. He said that they are so successful because they have made it very safe place for people to fail. In fact, at his work, they actually give awards to people who fail the fastest because they understand that identifying failure quickly saves the company millions of dollars. Don't be afraid to fail. As an athlete, if you simply see failure as a feedback, you remove the fear and the shame. All the emotional heaviness dissipates as you shift your perception that there are truly no such thing as failures. Simone Biles once said, "I'd rather regret the risk that didn't work out than the chances I didn't take at all." Fail a lot. Don't dwell. Don't deny. Improve. Okay? So what comes after failure is the rising again. Emotionally resilient people rise again. That's number 5. And that's going to look different for every single person. Serena Williams once said, "I really think a champion is defined not by their wins, but how they can recover when they fall." I want you to rebrand what it means to rise again for you. Okay, when it comes to falls, I want to talk about Bear Grylls. We named our 3rd child after Bear Grylls. While he was serving in the British Special Forces, he was out skydiving with friends on an R&R day, and his chute tore mid-fall. It caused him to fall like 16,000 feet. He survived, and he spent over a year rehabbing in the hospital. In his biography, he talks about how he was initially told he might not walk again, and how excruciating those weeks and months of rehab were mentally, physically, emotionally. His rise again looked very different than from before his fall. At the age of 21, his time in the Special Forces was over. He recovered from his fall by dreaming new dreams. One that included climbing Mount Everest, which he did 2 years after his accident, becoming one of the youngest people to ever climb Mount Everest. Failure is just feedback. We can learn from our falls. What is the next right step for you when you rise again? A few of the athletes I got to work with in my yoga series talked about recovering from injuries. They talked about being patient through rehab. They talked about reevaluating their priorities and leaning on those that they loved. They talked about sometimes even needing to leave their sport for a time. One young man named Ananias is a 17-year-old basketball player. You're going to meet him in week 6, I believe. All right. I asked him what he loved about basketball, and he just got the biggest smile on his face and said everything. Then he went on to tell me that it wasn't always the case. He said that in his family, they're big into sports, and that his dad originally had put him into basketball because he was tall for his age, but he didn't like it, and he stopped playing for years. Then, on his own, he started to get back into it, and then he couldn't get enough of it. His rise again involved playing the game for himself and deciding that's what he really wanted. I talked to another athlete recently who is a volleyball player, and volleyball has been their whole life. High school team, travel team, and so on. They're really good at it. The plan has always been to play college ball, and they're working through the steps after a verbal commitment to play for a specific team and make that become a written contract. And all those things came off the rails this last season. A toxic, egotistical coach, manipulative, mean-spirited teammates, best friends who were anything but real friends dropping her out of existence, all combined with a lifelong struggle with anxiety, became the perfect recipe for an epic fall. Just as traumatic as someone's chute being torn and falling from the sky. It has taken time to rise out of that hole. It has taken time to recover and heal. It has taken being brave in ways she could not have imagined. It has meant standing up for herself in a respectful way and holding her head up when others have jeered. Being resilient and rising again will oftentimes mean making hard choices and creating new dreams. You are so worth being true to yourself, you guys. Focus on the journey and not the outcomes. Rise after you fall in a way that is honoring and true to yourself. Number 6, emotional resiliency means no self-sabotaging. Okay, Sean Estes, baseball player, once said, "When I did well, I didn't give myself enough credit. And when I did badly, I beat myself up for it." How many of us do that same thing? We talked in previous weeks about that monkey on your back in this series, right? And expecting ourselves to play better when we're carrying around all this emotional weight and negativity on our shoulders and this negative self-talk. Jim Abbott once said, "I worked very hard. I felt I could play the game. The only thing that could stop me was myself." And Arthur Ashe once said, "You really never are playing an opponent. You are playing yourself." Be cheesy. Go write some motivational mantras on your mirror or on a card by your bed. Have a positive mantra ready that you can think silently every day or before you go out onto the court. Do it. It will make a difference. Emotional resiliency is letting go of self-sabotaging. It is being positive to yourself and others. WNBA player Cheryl Swoops once said, "You have to be positive." And I'm not just talking about athletics. This also applies to life. Okay? Let's let go of the self-sabotaging. Key to emotional resilience and true self-confidence, let go of the monkey off your back, okay? Number 7, be a teammate. Play for the name on the front of the jersey, and they'll remember the name on the back. Former Bulls coach Phil Jackson once said, The strength of the team is each individual, and the strength of each member is the team. Do you see how interconnected you are as an athlete to your team, to your school, to your community? Be an incredible teammate. Play for the name on the front of the jersey, and they'll remember the name on the back. Remember, we're letting go of the ego fever, the disease of me, me, me. What can you do to be a better teammate? Be solid, reliable, and trustworthy. Now, it's not flashy, right? To be solid, reliable, and trustworthy. But I love what Chris Bosch said. He says, who knows where sports will take you? Maybe you'll get breaks that I did and find yourself a pro. Maybe you'll top out in high school or college. It doesn't matter. The one skill that will carry you forward in life, the best thing you can take away from the game, whatever that game is for you, is the ability to be a teammate, to be of use to others, to want others to do well, and to help yourself do well by helping them. I am always saying that. Let's rise together. Let's enjoy this journey together. We are stronger together. Number 8, emotional resiliency is being already settled. It's being comfortable in your own skin and your role on the team, in your sport, whatever it may be. Being settled means you keep the responsibility of believing in yourself. You don't give other people's words the power to define your worth. I love this quote by artist Georgia O'Keeffe, and it's so interesting. I have found myself sharing this quote, I think 3 or 4 times in the last 2 weeks to people I have been talking to. And I'm talking to people who are in their 40s, I'm talking to teenagers, I'm talking to all different ages, and the quote still applies. Georgia O'Keeffe once said, I have already settled it for myself. So flattery and criticism go down the same drain, and I am quite free. I love that. Professional Ultimate Fighter Ronda Rousey once said, once you give them the power to tell you you're great, you've also given them the power to tell you you're unworthy. Once you start caring about people's opinions of you, you give up control. Do you see how both of those women were saying the same thing? Don't give up your control and your power. That inner self-esteem and self-confidence is when you keep your power. That is why I'm always encouraging you to figure out what your dharma is. What is your purpose? What is your why? That's why I always encourage you to celebrate your unique strengths. Instead of focusing all your energy on trying to be like everyone else, what are your unique strengths? It's why in so many of my yoga classes, I tell my students to choose to listen to their inner voice, not random opinions of others. Settle it for yourself, and you are free. Know that I doubt myself all the time. This isn't just a one and done thing. You don't just settle in once and then you're good to go for the rest of life. I sometimes will even have these like little teeny mini panic attacks once I've hit publish on a podcast, instantly second guessing everything I just said and worrying if it's going to reach your ears in a way that I intended, right? It's why doing grounding exercises every day, like meditation, journaling, prayer, scripture study, listening to inspiring interviews and podcasts, all these things that help keep you settled are good to do on a regular basis, because in today's world, it is easy to get unsettled. Even if you feel like you were so sure of yourself yesterday, it's easy to feel unsettled today. Know that you're not alone. We all feel unsettled at times. You are amazing. And guess what? You are a step closer to feeling settled, to feeling lasting emotional resiliency and true confidence right now than you even were 30 minutes ago, because you've allowed yourself to be open to new thoughts and new ideas. There is a poem by Kipling that Chris Bosch said is his favorite to read to those he's trying to inspire. I'm going to end today's podcast with that poem by Rudyard Kipling. It's called If. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or be lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make your dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build them up with worn out tools, if you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose, and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss, if you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distant run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it. And, which is more, you'll be a man, my son. If you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same, it goes back to that Georgia O'Keeffe quote. Just send flattery and criticism down the same drain, and you are free. Be settled. Trust your talent without letting it take over. In this thing, you will have figured out the paradox of the ego. You will have figured out and taken one step further in creating habits of emotional resilience. Good luck, you guys.
Thanks for listening in today. If what you heard resonated with you, let me continue to uplift, love, and inspire you through the online yoga classes I teach at ishawarriors.com. Isha Warriors is a one-of-a-kind platform created just for teens and accessible to the whole family. We offer chair yoga, beginner's yoga, all levels vinyasa and restorative, so yoga can meet you and your family's needs wherever you're at on your journey. If you enter in the code podcast30, that's podcast in all capital letters 30, you'll receive $30 off the annual teen membership. The first week is free, so why wait another minute to bring more peace and confidence into your life? See you on the mat.